Good morning, Sahadev. Let's talk about the impact, first of all, of two incumbents no longer wearing Cub uniforms, Albert Almora Jr. and Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, Almora move is kind of been seen as coming. After he didn't really get a shot in 2020. He needed to come out hot in this 60-game stretch. Just didn't do it. Didn't get a chance to play. Ian Happ took that job, and Almora struggled for a while. So this was expected. Schwarber is a little bit of a surprise. This is clearly a sense of the times. This is what's happening across baseball right now. He's in that 8 to 10 million range, stuck in left field, bat only guy. We saw a few of those guys get non-tendered yesterday, and it's unfortunate, especially considering how 2019 went for him. Go look at that second half. He was one of the best offensive players in the National League, seemed to have turned a corner. 2020 was a disaster, just a rough offensive year. You could start a long list of names for that, including players all across the Cubs offense. So he wasn't alone. And Jed Hoyer specifically said, let's not assume that 2020 was who Kyle Schwarber is. They're not ruling him coming back to the team. But it's clear that 2020 had an impact in multiple ways, both his performance and the financial situation that 2020's created for all these baseball teams has really impacted this decision.
Well, it's clearly a turn for the Cubs. One guy, though, that did not move or did not non-tender is Kris Bryant. And although there's been a lot of conversation about him possibly being traded, you know, that last year he made about $18.5 million. I think that contract's going to be difficult to move in this period, unless it is a team that says we got a chance to win the title. What's your take on Kris Bryant?
Yeah, I think that's completely right. It's got to be a win-now team, a team that's willing to invest that money, because right now everybody's pinching pennies. So they have to be very targeted in who they're looking to trade. Who they're looking to trade him to. It was obviously nothing got done before the tender deadline, but they clearly feel that they can get a deal done, or that they're comfortable spending that money on him. Again, another guy whose 2020 was awful, but you can't assume that that's who Kris Bryant was. He was banged up, so injuries played a factor, but go look at his previous seasons. I know he's not 2016 MVP Kris Bryant, but there's no reason to believe that he shouldn't be tendered a contract, or that he's not really worth that $18 million. I know we're in a different market, but that's just my opinion. I think he's more than worth that when he's healthy and producing. He's a special player when he's not banged up. I've seen him go on streaks that are just unbelievable. I think it could go either way. They could keep him if they don't find the right deal. They're not just going to give him away for nothing. That's the thing. If they can find a prospect, maybe a guy that, maybe as kind of the shine has come off a little bit, and they're like, yeah, we can get this guy for a little cheaper, and we think he can turn into a quality player. I don't think you're going to get a Kris Bryant replacement. It's just not a realistic expectation. But they're going to try and move him and kind of reshape this roster. They need different players. The Jed Hoyer said it for a while. I mean, Theo Epstein, he's echoing what Theo Epstein said, which is this offense needs a different look. And if they come back with the exact same personnel, it's going to be a failure of a winter.
Yeah, and to kind of tag on that point, Sahadev, as you're painfully aware, having watched them all year in 2020, the Cubs finished with a home team batting average just over 200, the worst in franchise history, which is awfully hard to imagine given the names on the roster last year. So who's out there now? Who's out there that can help that equation? What a lot of people thought is that they need a bat-to-ball guy, somebody that's not going to be a 3 true outcomes hitter that's going to hit for a little average. Is that the type of hitter that's being targeted?
Yeah, they're looking for a different type of hitter than what they have. But what they have right now are a lot of strikeouts, low contact. They want guys that are willing to make the adjustment and really make good decisions on the field. There are plenty of names that make a ton of sense. Unfortunately, the Cubs, as we saw with some of their moves yesterday, aren't going to be aggressive financially. They're not going to go out and aggressively pursue these guys. They are going to be patient and see how the winter plays out. We saw a ton of names flood the market yesterday. One name that instantly popped up onto my radar just because of his skill set was Hanser Alberto. Again, his numbers aren't mind-bogglingly great, but he puts the ball in play. He can hit around 300, and he can play a couple infield positions. That could make sense, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to completely impact and reshape your offense. But it kind of gives them a different type of bat that this offense really doesn't have that much of, and it makes them a little harder. Makes it harder for an opponent kind of game plan for them. That's the biggest thing that's been this offense's issue for the last couple of years. They're easily game planned for. You can throw a couple high fastballs, you can throw a breaking ball away, and in all likelihood, you'll be able to work your way through that lineup despite all those names that you look on paper. You're like, wow, that's a great offense. It just hasn't played out that way over the course of a full season or even the course of a 60-game season, as we just saw.
Hanser Alberto, that's an interesting name. After all, not everybody can afford DJ LeMahieu, as he was once a long time ago, a Chicago Cub. Sahadev Sharma, The Athletic, thanks for taking some time with us. Enjoy the holiday season, man. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Take care.